My friend Tony Natsoulis made a portrait of Dr. Gladstone. Dr. Gladstone is my partner at the museum, and he's been responsible for most of the unnatural history specimens that we found in the museum. And this shows Dr. Gladstone with his bone of contention and his pick and his various tools that are used to unearth mythical animals. And this is Dr. Gladstone's cabin actually right here. It's on the top of the hill. But this is the site where we found the Bigfoot and the giant Cyclops. I don't like to travel, so it's really handy to find all this stuff right over the fence here.
Clayton stands out for his world making. For clay sculpture and sculpture in general, he was ahead of his time. It's one of the longest running gags, I think, in the history of art.
The Unnatural History Museum is where we keep the collection of mythical animals and other supportive evidence and documentation. These are examples of Paleolithic fossils. The term Kaalism is something that I dreamed up to explain the scientific meaning of fossils of mythical animals that I was finding. Kaalism is based on the term kaolin, which is a type of clay.
He took all of this great knowledge he had that's definitely outside the normal vocabulary of most people, and made sure that it was part of the fiction.
The jackalope, a mythical animal from Wyoming, primarily, and sometimes from Montana. This is made of stoneware clay that's glazed with what we call our tobacco spit glaze because of the way it runs. We specialize in mythical animals at the museum. But here's the actual Bigfoot skeleton. And the tools that we invented to search for a Bigfoot dropping, the lubricant injector and the dropping extractor. Here's an actual photograph of the Bigfoot skeleton. And here's a Bigfoot egg in the nest. And they sit on the egg for about 9 months, and then it hatches into a little baby Bigfoot. Here's an example of a creature from the Bone Age. That was a period in time before the Stone Age. This was a time when you could go out and you could collect skulls and use them as tools. Gradually, when these animals became extinct, man had to learn how to make tools out of stone, and we got to the Stone Age. And the fossil tester provides proof. You put the specimen you want to test into the tray, and you push the button, and you see the bone meter goes way up. Indisputable truth. And here is a terrarium in which we display Dr. Gladstone with his Studebaker exploring a cave looking for fossils. And unbeknownst to him, there's a giant spider about to pounce on him. We have a spider, but you could put a lizard in there and it would be even better. What is it? What is that? When we started our museum, our original robot was called On-Off, and it was this robot suit that my son or I would get into. And the robot would walk around in the streets in Port Costa, and it would talk to motorcycles, and it would talk to people, and it would try to hypnotize people and tell them to go to the museum, and amaze people by walking and talking and dripping sweat. The first On-Off was pretty crude. His legs were made out of some kind of flexible tubing that the PG&E uses to blow air down into the sewers. I knew that it had to be a better quality, so then I made an all aluminum body. with more electrical features, you know, like blinking eyes and wiggling hair and gnashing teeth. This was built to go in the back of a pickup truck so that it could deliver a robot to the museum. It was a ridiculously big job. It wasn't really practical to try to drive into town with a rocket in the back of the pickup truck and have a robot come out of the rocket. It sounded good on paper until I really thought about it. But you get going with making robots and collecting scrap material, and you have an inventory of parts to use up, and so it's been hard to stop. You have all these other different characters that come out of the woodwork. For example, Marilyn Monrobot, the girlfriend, Marilyn Monrobot's baby, two-headed baby, by the way. Okay, after the baby robot is out, you have to disconnect the cord. Now, you're not supposed to yank it by the cord like this. See, it's a trick like this. And this is Kirby, the longhorn dog. It started out as a turkey roaster, and it became a bird. I keep all of the fasteners in this area, and I have an excess here of heads for robot building. Some people might call it a collection of coffee pots. And here's a box of switches and micro switches, and here's a box full of eyeballs and a box full of teeth. Here's a horn dog snout. I better take that with me. I'm working on a horn dog. The way I work is tentative, you know. What if I do this? What if I do that? No, maybe I should change this and do this. By having everything held together with rivets and screws, you can make a lot of modifications. And so the robots would utilize some simple electrical device to give them life. And here we have the electrical spark effect. And that's activated by the sounds of people in the room. This guy responds when you walk past him.
37 years in a row now.
I remember Clayton had a gallery, I think it was in San Francisco, and I think it was the first time I saw the robots, and I just fell in love with them, especially this one, and I don't know why, but it had a meat grinder for a penis. And so when Clayton and I traded, I said, Clayton, I want a functional penis. So he put this shoe polisher in, and it does work. We absolutely love this piece. It's our Romeo.
I used to be a real car nut, and I had a total of 13 Studebakers, and they filled up the whole front yard. Eventually I got rid of all of them, and I just had a few spare parts laying around, which now you can find incorporated into some of my robots. Studebaker ashtrays, Studebaker emblems. Is that a robot head, or is that a selector box for a jukebox? Boob shapes. I never pass up a good boob shape.
There was a Marilyn that was posed on a pedestal with her legs kind of up, and then she has outlet in her nether region. And a colleague who is generally very interested in all sorts of humor and alternative humor, but she just had to pause, and she goes, well, that's just lewd.
I pretty much know when a robot is done because it makes me laugh. And that's true.
It's part of Clayton Bailey's genius, is just that will to realize this entire vision. It's that extra something. It's that extra bit of capability, ingenuity, and maybe misspent time all come together.